I'll know the plan.
No, they don't know the plan. We had some
All
technical
right, all right.
difficulties,
Yeah, yeah, we did.
and my
Objectively had
computer
technical
basically
difficulties.
imploded,
It did.
and I can't get back into the Zoom. And so
But,
we are streaming here today to tell you that we will actually conclude this. Prem, back to you. What
yeah,
were you saying?
okay. So the last point was essentially just that I agree with, or like I vibe with the conception of like, seeing us like people as just different levels of developed children or developed whatever noun you want to use. And I thought that I'm just going to reiterate this just in case, it got cut off, but that like the idea that there are certain inherent, or as far as we can tell, more inherent human anxieties and emotions of wanting to be loved, to be liked, to fit in, to feel like you have some sort of guiding force or purpose.
Oh no. No way.
These more like constructed anxieties that might come from the quote unquote real world to tie in like some thoughts we were talking about earlier. Those are constructed, and those don't necessarily have to exist in the way that they do.
So,
So if we
Prem,
have these sort of
it cut out a little bit there. And,
where did it cut out?
uh, not too bad. Not too much.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
not being
The point
constructive.
is, the point is if we have these related and similar and echoing sort of anxieties, whether we're young or old, those more inherent ones, those natural, as far as we can tell, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's fair to see us as different levels of developed children or developed whatever. And if that's the case, that we have this new conception of seeing where we are in the timeline of life, then and given we want to maximize that in a way, and not, as you said, not have these distinctions between when adulthood stops and starts, then we should find a method or philosophy of constructing society such that
Such that. Ah, come on. It's so close. Why? Such that. Are you back?
something to neglect or be fearful of, but to
Okay.
embrace in a way, to in the same way that we should. But
It cut
I
out.
cut.
Right when you said such that, we should
Okay,
structure our society such that.
we should structure our society such that it accommodates for age. It accommodates for the impacts of age in the same way that we ought to construct a society that um, acknowledges ability, like
Mm-hmm.
ableism, and like providing equal access to things through like wheelchair access, things like that, which of course we also don't do that well. We should be just as cognizant of age too, in a way that you're not running away from age, you're not hiding from it, you're not fearful of it, but rather it's just a part of and mode of human
Son of a bitch. Uh,
line between all of these that we've talked about so far is that we shouldn't be afraid to acknowledge that age physically exists. And by doing so, spiritually, we negate the scary parts of age, I think, because we create a society where it's not so bad to be older. I think that's at least one conclusion that isn't one that is abstract or too in the air. That is the specific goal that we should be pursuing.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that is sort of like just a basic Eastern way of doing things, isn't it? That, like, in America, we just don't see the value of as much. When we just think about, like, saying you would, in India, it's more common and important to take care of your parents. Um, like, do you think that it's something that just like the Western world is doing a poor job of, or do you think it's like worldwide?
I think I mean, especially as because like certain parts of these dynamics, like capitalism, are global dynamics, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, like it's hard to generalize everything to West and East and which one's best and which one's not. Of course,
Mhm.
there are certain cultural strains in the eastern side of the world that perhaps differ, but it's not to say that like Indian people treat elderly perfectly either. Because again, some of these are like specifically cultural, some of these are sociocultural, some of these are political, and some of these are economic. And because that, of course, all those are related, but they all have different sort of things that fall under them separately too, that can negate societies from caring for or creating a caring society and embracing society of age. But no, yeah, you're right. Like it's not perfectly one like black and white. So even though of course we're speaking from the Western context and we're maybe learning some lessons from the Eastern context, like that's something I think humans generally can do better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in our specific sphere of like America, we speak from the experiences we know. We speak from the things that we know America doesn't have, and we speak from the things that we learn from other places, and perhaps things that aren't in other places that we're just envisioning ourselves. That's part of the human experience is that like not only are you hopefully learning from each other, but you're also cooperating to create a new vision of things too.
Right.
So that's what I would say to that is that it surely isn't black and white, just like nothing else is black and white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that I wrote down during this conversation was value. Um, and I think this is a conversation. I wrote it down because I want to go over it some other time, but
Mhm.
basically getting into the systems of how we assign value and how that affects how we set up our society. And, I mean, that might be a great question to wrap it up on uh, in terms of for people who are watching this and uh, any questions that you have this whole entire time that we've been talking here, please let us know what you think and what questions you have. But also, like, how do you see value in your life and where does that point you towards?
Hmm. Yeah.
Or, in other words, how do you feel your orientation of value is pushing your motivation and structure of your life?
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what people say to that, and hopefully that'll give us some more things to chew on. Um, of course, like we've said over and over again, we're just speaking from our own perspectives and experiences. And hopefully, you guys will kind of see where we're coming from with some of this. I mean, this
Yeah.
is we've over and over spoke to a sort of cooperative human experience and sort of shared anxieties that rhyme in certain ways. So perhaps you'll identify those in your own way and see why some of these things are so necessary of the sort of destabilizing notion of releasing yourself from the idea that you have to be committed to certain grind don't stop lifestyle, to a certain grading way of existing, and conceptualizing a way that isn't like that. um but yeah, I think we're running out of time here. And there's of course so much left to be said, and that's why what's great about this is that there's episodes. So
Right. So this one we kind of did it incognito as a test run to make sure that everything runs well, and so we learned some
mhm.
things like premium Zoom, and hopefully my computer doesn't implode. I think it was
Yeah.
the non-premium Zoom and going in and out that caused my computer to implode. But
Okay.
um, for the future, if you would like to join in live and interact with us as we do these streams, we will be streaming Sundays, the three of us, um, 6 p.m. Central. So
Right.
join in, have fun. Any closing statements for you two?
For the stream, I don't think so. I'll probably say some more to you two about next session, but otherwise, I'm set.
Sweet. All right.